Edifier is notorious for making great quality earphones at affordable prices. Recently, they came out with a banger, the Edifier X3 Lite. It has one of Edifier's most compact cases. The noise isolation is crazy good, scarily good. How does it compare though when it comes to the W320TN, my all-time favorite Edifier earphones before these? But before we get into all that, just make sure you follow, you like, just so you can stay tuned for more videos like this. So the difference between the two cases is imminent. So starting off with the 320TN, this one has more of a glossy look, whereas the newer X3 Lite has more so just a matte finish, and this is something you'd only be able to tell just by feeling between the two. But the X3 Lite is much lighter than the 320, and to be honest, it's not anything super noticeable, but you can still feel it once you handle both of them. They both charge via USB-C. The 320 has a much longer battery life at 27.5 hours, while the X3 Lite has 24 hours. So not really a big difference, but at the end of the day, the 320 is gonna last you just a couple more hours. Now the charging ports are also located on different parts. The 320s is at the bottom and the X3 Lite is at the back. Aesthetically, it's more pleasing on the X3 Lite because it just stands and sits on your desk, whereas the 320 is going to have to lay flat on its side. Despite its rounded shape, the 320 can also balance on its surface just like the X3 Lite. As when it comes to the protection of the earphones, I've dropped the 320 more times than I can count. As for the X3 Lite, I recently dropped it by accident and already immediately there was a scratch on it. So when it comes to earphones protection, sure, both do protect the earphones because both were still safe and functioning after the fact, but the X3 Lite is more so prone to scratches. And also something I noticed, the X3 Lite's case is a little more slippery, which is ironic because the 320 has a glossy finish and you'd assume that is going to be slippery. From my testing, the X3 Lite is a little more slippery. So as for the cases, the 320 attracts more fingerprints, whereas the X3 Lite attracts more scratches. I prefer the X3 case because it's much lighter, it's much more sleek and compact, and it's easier to carry around. If you want a more protective case, then I'll go with the 320. At the end of the day, to be honest, really don't care about cases because they're really overrated, and more so it's the earbuds that really make it different. So when it comes to the earbuds, they are completely different in build, style, and in quality. 320 has a stem to balance it, while the X3 Lite is more so just an old-fashioned earbud. And as for putting them on, I found that the X3 Lite is way more comfortable than the 320s. Doesn't mean the 320 isn't comfortable, but from my testing, the X3 Lite was just a little more comfortable. As for the isolation as well, I found that the X3 has better sound isolation, not active noise cancellation, which I'll get to that in a minute. But just overall, the fit feels more isolating on the X3 Lite. On the inside of the 320, there's going to be a sensor for in-ear detection, and on the inside of the X3 Lite, there's going to be the magnets for charging. Now, both have Bluetooth 5.3, which is something I always recommend, and at this point, it's become an essential for me. It has to be Bluetooth 5.3 at the moment. There isn't higher than 5.3, but it has to be Bluetooth 5.3 because that is the highest, and it guarantees the best connection for whatever device you're going to be connecting. The 320 has adaptive noise cancellation, it's high-res audio certified, and it has LDAC, whereas the X3 has AI noise cancellation, which works a little different, but in my personal opinion isn't as good yet as the 320's active noise cancellation. I prefer the 320's noise cancellation because it's adaptive noise cancellation, and so when you walk in a room, it's going to detect how much noise or how much exactly it has to block out all the external noise and keep you isolated in your earphone. Whereas the X3's AI noise cancellation, more so it's the best suited for phone calls, and this basically works like environmental noise cancellation where it tunes out everything and just makes the calls as clear as possible. Now both have fast charging. The 320 has a 10-minute charge for 1 hour, and from my calculations the X3 has about 16 minutes for an hour, so the 320 beats it out just by a smudge. As for wearing detection, the X3 does not have wearing detection, whereas the 320 does have wearing detection. And basically wearing detection, it's good, but it does have its little annoying moments because sometimes you might just be removing the earphone just really quickly to scratch or to just place it better, and it's gonna get out your ear and pause whatever video or song you're listening to, and it's not really necessary all the time each and every single moment you take it out for it to pause video. Sometimes it gets annoying, but I'd say 8 out of 10 other times it is useful. For water resistancy, the 320 is IP54 and the X3 Lite is IP55. So basically around the same. They're both going to be dust resistant and water resistant, whereas IP55 for the X3 Lite is going to be a little more resistant to low pressure water spray. The bottom line is both of them, they're going to be good for activities, running, sportswear, going to the gym, and even commuting. So for the controls, the 320 has pinch controls, whereas the X3 Lite is touch capacitive. And the pinch controls, you know, at first they may seem like a little gimmick, or they may seem gimmicky just because of how they function. I mean, you have to pinch the earphones to transition between songs, pick up phone calls, and so on and whatever. And at some points it may be a little off because just by trying to switch songs, you may knock the earphones out of your ear, or grasping it the wrong way and it knocks it off. But majority of the time that's not going to happen, but it just takes some getting used to. Whereas the X3 Lite, it has touch capacitive buttons, which majority of people are already used to touch capacitive. It just feels natural, and it's the norm for a lot of earbuds. That's the one thing that makes touch capacitive more appealing than pinch controls, because they're just the most natural. The 320 is also dual device connectable, and I know it seems lazy, but being able to connect to 2 different devices without having to connect to one to connect to the other, it saves some time, not a lot of time, but it eases connectability. Whereas with the X3 Lite, you have to do the old-fashioned Bluetooth disconnect and connect to a whole new device just to pair it to your computer or your smartphone if you want to. The rundown of these earphones is that they both have crystal clear audio. The 320 specializes more in giving the clearest audio as possible, whereas the X3 Lite, I'd say, more focuses on the bass of heavy songs, or just the bass of audio in general. The X3's isolation is also really great because of the ear tips, but the 320 doesn't even have ear tips, but the isolation is competitive as well. The way I look at it is the X3 Lite is more so fitted for really bass-filled audio and music, whereas the 320 is more so a Swiss Army knife. It's just the jack of all trades. The 320 just sounds better for everything in general. It's more suited for all kinds of audio, and the best way I can compare them to is the 320 sounds akin to the Samsung Galaxy Buds 2, whereas the X3 Lite more so sounds like Beats Studio Buds. So in case of the X3 Lite, the audio and the sound isolation is crazy, and the beats and the bass are the best part of the audio. To be honest, the X3, maybe not the total package, but it delivers what it's supposed to. Meanwhile, the 320 just has clear audio. It reminds me so much of the Galaxy Buds 2, where to date it's still one of the best earphones I've used for review when it comes to audio clarity and just overall audio quality. So my overall conclusion about everything I just talked about, I still prefer the 320 over the X3 Lite. And the audio on the 320 just sounds best for me and my personal preferences, but that doesn't mean the X3 Lite doesn't sound good. It sounds great, but the 320 is just much better. And it's also just other stuff, like the 320, for example, is LDAC and high-res audio certified. Now the X3 has much better IP rating, 320 has in-ear detection, and it has adaptive noise cancellation. But at the end of the day, let me know what you think. This is my opinion. JEDIJA, I'm out.